Japan by River Cruise is made possible thanks to those who donate to the show at japanbyrivercruise.com and due to the generosity of our corporate sponsors. This week's show is brought to you by the Save an Athlete's Dream Fund.
Here at the SAD Fund, we've campaigned relentlessly to prevent the cancellation of the Tokyo Olympics and thereby keep alive the dreams of our Olympic athletes. But now, there's a new threat on the horizon. The threat of a spectatorless Olympics. And we need your help. Our solution? We're collecting submissions from Olympics fans to help us recreate, if not the revenue opportunities of a packed Olympic stadium, the feel of one. And that's why we've taken a cue from other pandemic-stricken sporting events, and we're going to fill our stands with life-size photo printouts. To achieve maximum realism, we're seeking photo submissions of Korean people wearing t-shirts that say "Doctor," drunk Americans making fun of male rhythmic gymnastics, and 150,000 people who have passed out from heat stroke. We'll also need you to send us your trash, so we can litter your part of the stands with it and give the domestic media a jumping off point to discuss different standards of cleanliness worldwide. We're asking for your help because the matter is urgent, and Olympics needs a crowd. Because an Olympic athlete being awarded a bronze medal for field hockey should never be made to feel, even for a moment, like it's a meaningless achievement.
Hello, Brian, and welcome back to Japan by River Cruise. I'm Bobby Judo.
And I'm Ollie Horn.
And joining us this week is Nick Szasz, publishing editor of Fukuoka Now, host of Kyushu Live, where I recently joined him for a walking tour of my favorite river cruise in Imajuku. Nick, my apologies about that. You were right. A walking tour of a river cruise was not the best idea. Still, thank you for being here.
Hey, no, it's great to be here, guys.
On this week's show, virtual tourism is here. We'll talk about how traditional go there and do stuff tourism stacks up against the new proliferation of remote options for travel in Japan, most of which can be boiled down to Skyping with a tea farmer. Plus, Ollie's got your weekly river cruise recommendation. Ollie?
Yes, Bobby, this week's recommendation is the first river cruise exclusively chartered for those who have already been vaccinated for COVID in Japan. First trip scheduled for May 2022 or wherever, really hard to tell.
Plus, we'll go through the spring season's hottest river cruise accessories for a new segment we're calling Pimp My Riverboat, which is not to be confused with the Kabukicho-based waterborne brothel My Pimp's Riverboat. But first, soap talk. Hey Brian, all good?
Yeah, I guess. Good stuff. Nick, you might not remember this, but you are actually the reason that Bobby and I met. You introduced me to Bobby back in the day when I was looking for charismatic and talented people to perform comedy in Japanese.
So it's my fault.
This whole damn podcast, you're to blame for.
I do remember. I remember very well.
And you and Bobby worked a lot together. I did some work with you. Back at the time, there was loads going on.
Yeah, we all worked together for the 200th episode party at Fukuoka Now, right?
That's right. That was, when was that? It was in 2015?
15, I think.
Yeah,
I remember to
there.
publicize it, you had us in sumo suits outside the station.
That was a lot of fun. That's right.
We got fun.
Those huge sumo suits. And you guys were in the newspaper for that, right? Remember we had a newspaper came and covered that.
Yeah.
That was it was either the 200th issue of Fukuoka Now was the occasion, but we had a big event called Nippon Now. And we had all kinds of Japanese sort of theme entertainment. And we had, what was it? Sunshine...
Katsuda.
What was the name?
Sunshine Katsuda, the Rakugo performer.
Rakugo guy. And you guys were our MCs. That was a lot of fun.
It was a really, really great party, and it really helped as well to help launch the comedy club, because you were very helpful way back to help me scout for venues. You helped me find comics for the comedy club, and we actually had a Comedy Fukuoka booth there, and we had a lot of people interested in signing up for open mic as a result.
I remember the very first show. I remember very well.
Well, thank you very much for
the old
your
days.
support. Yeah,
not at all.
And look at us now.
Yeah. I'm honored. I'm so honored that you remembered me and actually having me on your podcast.
If we're doing it, my first ever job in the industry, I got through Nick. Nick put a classified ad in Fukuoka Now for extras to be in a House Ten Bosch filmed commercial.
No, it was
a wig
Famous
commercial.
Japanese, a famous Japanese actress,
Manda Hisako.
and yeah. And you were, so we had, I think I casted about 20 foreigners in that job. And I think you came out at the very top. You got like the main role. You were walking down.
I got to walk and have her walk past me. So I was very prominent in the background.
Bobby! Did not know about this. This changes everything.
But no, I used that weekend to meet the people who had introduced me to the first agency that I ever got into in Japan. It was literally the launch of my entertainment career.
Wow, that's great. Yeah.
I didn't realize that we were bringing Nick on to blow smoke up his ass, but I'm quite enjoying it. I'm really glad to be reminiscing.
Ollie, I'm enjoying it.
Let me get back to that party because it was Nippon no Hi, but it was
Bunka no Hi.
Bunka no Hi. That's right. It was on Bunka no Hi. The party was called Nippon Now because our play on us, Fukuoka Now.
Yeah.
And we called it Nippon Now because it's on Bunka no Hi, and we had all kinds of Japanese theme entertainment.
And I remember that right around then it was the 200th episode, and I was confused and called it the 20-year anniversary, which actually now is much closer to the 20th anniversary, wouldn't it be?
Correct. Yeah, the magazine started in 1998, and we published monthly. It's a free paper until last year, until 2020 April, and then due to the pandemic, there wasn't much point putting out a printed magazine, was there?
Yeah,
so we're on hold now. I wouldn't say it's the last issue. I don't say Fukuoka Now is not done print-wise, but we haven't published since April. In the meantime, we continue to publish on the web and also on social media.
So that was Fukuoka then.
Just a little joke there.
But I noticed even in the time that I was in Japan, the magazine made a bit of a transition from having its attention first and foremost at the local residents to really trying to provide value for foreign tourists. You even were putting articles in Korean and Chinese. But presumably that was in response to the huge surge in tourism in the area.
Well, there's a couple pivots that we had. We started in 1998 and it was English and Japanese, and mostly for foreign residents, which there weren't that many of, and that's why it was also in Japanese, because we also spoke to the kokusaijin, internationally minded Japanese. And then that went on for a while. But then what happened is the internet and social media. And then we started losing our advertising revenue from the local bars and so on and so forth. So things got kind of tight there. And we did our first pivot. We went to English and Korean because this is before this sort of inbound boom. There were still a lot of Koreans, or not still, there were a lot of Koreans coming. So we actually went to English and Korean format for a year or so. But then there was, I think, what was a nuclear accident with a Tohoku.
Fukushima.
So Fukushima no. And then people wouldn't come to Fukuoka because it sounded like Fukushima. So from Korea. So we stopped that. No, it's true. It's a true story. But then what happened is the big shift was in 2009. In 2009, cruise ships, the first large cruise ships, this is something you guys are interested in. Yeah. Well, not river, but cruise ships. Yeah, cruise ships. Well, in 2009 was the year they first started calling on Fukuoka. And I saw that and thought, wow, this inbound is something to pay attention to. And we started actually Now Map, which is a trilingual. It was English and Chinese and Korean city map. And that's when we got into what's called the inbound market publishing. And then from there, we started converting our magazine to cater to tourists as well, too. So it all started actually 2009 on until recently. I mean, there's been a huge shift in what inbound tourism looks like in the last year. And so I understand that you're pivoting again, kind of capitalizing on the brand and the audience that you've already built, but shifting, as many places in Japan are, towards more virtual tourism and to a more exclusively digital format. We'd like to talk about that a little bit in today's The News. Is that how you say it,
done.
Ali? Is that how you say it?
No, you have to go, The News.
The Yomiuri Shimbun reports Tokyo Games to be held without fans from abroad, a move that means a loss of 90 billion yen, not counting ticket refund costs. The decision is likely to improve public perception around pandemic concerns and to fully confirm the public perception that the Olympics is a humongous waste of money. Our own JBRC Press Club correspondents have followed up on this story.
At Reporter, GVA Otto and Stone Cold Kilter have an in-depth profile on decisions regarding the Japanese fans, or as they're called over here, Uchiwa.
And at Shinpan Salter looks into the scientific basis, or as it's called over here, the Kagakuteki Konkyo, for the decision, including data on how cheering for countries like Portugal, Paraguay, and Papua New Guinea in Gaikokugo is more likely to spread the virus.
And at Pixel Maven looks into how the government expects the move to prevent visitors from irresponsibly spreading information about how much better their countries are doing with the vaccine rollout. If you'd like to join the JBRC Press Club, follow us at JBRC Pod for next week's assignment. Nick, but for the pandemic, this would have been one of the most exciting periods in all of Japan's history for inbound tourism, with the Olympics coming up, and with the fact that there's been a huge proliferation in low-cost carriers bringing people to the region, a new burgeoning middle class in Southeast Asia bringing lots of new money into the country, people from all around the world choosing Japan as their number one travel destination again and again and again.
Bobby Judo was going to break out big on the national stage.
Yeah, my Netflix special was going to come out, but for the fact that they never commissioned it, presumably because of Corona. And a lot of people have suffered. No doubt you.
Yes.
Your publishing business was predicated on tourism. Who do you think's been the biggest loser?
Is it, you mean of the three of us? Because I have a vote.
I'm going to abstain, but the losers all over, all over. But I mean, obviously the transport companies and the hotel and everything to do with tourism, pretty much. I mean, the restaurants and so forth as well too. But I think, I mean, restaurants, at least they have a domestic market, but people, the hotels and transport and people like us, publishing companies that are, based on advertising income from tourism. Yeah.
So is the distinction basically those that had a domestic market for their product too, and or those that could pivot are the only ones really that are still surviving?
Well, we're pivoting. Yeah, I mean, we have, as I said way back, we started, providing information to local foreigners and international Japanese. So that still exists, but it doesn't really have the advertising support. So what we've done is we've pivoted to video, and we started a new project on January 1st, actually called Kyushu Live, which we are doing sort of, I guess, we don't build them as virtual tours. However, people can use them that way. And we have already been commissioned by Kumamoto City, for example, to produce a specific program, or as you will, a virtual tour of that city. And that's going really well. I'm enjoying it as well, too.
And this is not, I mean, you guys aren't the only ones who are doing this. There are places all over Japan that are doing more remote travel guides, remote tourism, remote experiences, and things like this. In fact, I caught a Love FM segment that our friend Anna was doing the other day, where she mentioned Kyushu Live, which you do, and she also mentioned Glocal Bus, that crazy bus tour company that they hired me a while back to host an online tour of a town in Kumamoto for a group of people from England. And this radio segment talked about two instances of virtual tourism, both which I was a part of, because I also got to be on a guest. I also got to be your guest on Kyushu Live.
That's right, on the Imajiku episode. Yeah, that was fun. I think the virtual tours, I mean, it really comes down to how they're executed. I mean, some of them are good and some of them are not, no doubt about that. But as I say, we started Kyushu Live not so much for tourism so much as just as a way to connect with fans of Kyushu, people who previously lived in Kyushu, people who have visited Kyushu, people who are thinking of coming to Kyushu. And I like the idea that how we do it live. So it's direct, it's real. Of course, we prepare before we go on a walk. We do a little research, so we have some real knowledge and information to share.
But that's an interesting idea, isn't it? Like preparing for content creation before a show.
You could try it, Ollie. You could try it.
Isn't it?
I'm in favor of that idea.
Give it a try. Give it a try. Yeah, no, so we do that, but not too much. So while we're walking around, things, pop up. Obviously, it depends on the weather, and maybe you bump into someone. So it's got that sort of, element of surprise and live
Yeah. But it's interesting that the two types of virtual tourism which Bobby mentioned, both of which he was involved in, one is kind of very direct. It's kind of a designated class of people that have booked to go on a tour, and yours is kind of more general to a wider audience of people not only watching the live stream but also watching on catch up after.
But both of them are free. The one that I participated in was booked for free. I got paid to do it, but since it was free, I'm wondering where they got that money from. And the question I have about virtual tourism overall is, as a substitute for a tourism economy, where do you go with it? How do you monetize
Where's
it?
the business? Yeah. Good question. Good question. Well, tell you what is what we're doing right now with the current series of Kyushu Live, where we're just going around different parts of Fukuoka, different parts of Kyushu, 60 to 90 minutes at a time, and the narration, all that. We're not trying to monetize it right now. We're just trying to build an audience again of fans of Kyushu. That's what we're trying to find. And then
the business model for cocaine.
Yeah, no. Well, what the business model is, we're going to come out with another series of edited videos where we're going to try to introduce, products from Kyushu, products and services and so forth. So that will be a second one. So the idea is to build up, as I say, a fan base.
So from what I've heard and seen of other places that are also doing the same thing is that there's kind of two approaches here. One, like you said, is to connect products. So the places that say, get a virtual tour group out to your local area and show them the local products, all the stuff that people might normally buy as omiyage, as souvenirs if they actually went there, make it available for them to buy online and try to monetize it that way. Which to me, just in terms of numbers, seems like not the best substitute for actually getting people to come through. But is there a chance that the other way of monetizing this is through kind of a form of long-term marketing, generating awareness of a place?
Yeah, I think exactly. I think that's so we're hoping that, I say we had one job already from Kumamoto City. We hope from other parts of Kyushu that, want to have their areas, get some exposure for them. They might hire us to do a Kyushu Live episode from there. So, yeah.
Can I just say, as a longtime content creator, how great it is to hear that somebody doesn't want to hire me because I'll get exposure. They want to hire me to get them exposure.
Yeah. Hey, one thing I do want to tag on here, though, is because you just said, the long format, right?
Yeah.
That's, I think, also another key thing. Yeah. If I said we do the 60, 90 minutes of walking around an area of town or something like that, it's a long time, but it's enough time where you can really get into details and, and have a conversation either with myself or I'm having guests on as well, too. Bobby was on an episode and I've had some Japanese architects come on. Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting.
I watched the one you did with the architect because you went round my old stomping ground.
Daimyo? Or in Hakozaki.
Hakozaki. Well, actually, Daimyo is another old stomping ground of mine. But yeah, Hakozaki. And I think that for someone who's watching these videos who's never been to Japan, right, and who eventually goes, they're bound to enjoy it more when they're there. Right, if you really have spent an hour looking at this scenery and in this kind of detail, it is going to be a better experience. And I do wonder whether, is the future of this stuff, that is the product, right? The product stops at watching the video, or is this like part of a much broader kind of spectrum of touch points that a tourist is going to have, where they watch the video, then later go, then later see that artisan which they watched a video about. Maybe they've already bought his scissors and had them shipped to their country, and they, do you see that as the future of travel, this kind of hybrid model?
Yeah, I think the fact that at least the way we do it is live and sort of natural, sort of honest, straight up. I think people, I think the narration and what we introduce, I say we walk down the street, but we are selecting what we show and what we talk about. I think that has a lot to do with it.
It's not just, here's a 7-Eleven, here's a Family Mart,
no,
there's another 7-Eleven.
It isn't.
There's another Family Mart.
Exactly. Here's a manhole. we don't do things like that. We try to tie things in and give some background, what's happening in the city. For example, the governor is now, hospitalized, and there's going to be an election coming up, or, things that building codes changed in Fukuoka and some redevelopments going on and this and that. We give sort of information and story that, as someone like myself who's been here for over 30 years in the city, can do. And the guests that I have on have knowledge and so forth. So I think it's a little bit different than someone bumbling around with just a camera.
Yeah.
I like to think of it very different of that. So, and what we're doing is we're building up a catalog as well too, different areas. We already have 28 episodes, and I hope to do 2 a week. So that will be 100 in 1 year.
If you can't monetize this through tourists, have you considered just selling this footage to Google Maps? Because you're basically going to document the whole place by the end of the year, aren't you?
Right.
Well, I'd like to bring you back to what Nick was saying about this idea that it's a long format and that it's more in-depth than just somebody walking around with their selfie stick and doing a live stream. Because it does remind me of this idea of kind of like micro-influencing. A lot of times when people are looking for social media advertising, they find that they get more effective advertising from a smaller influencer who has 200 followers who will actually listen to them than somebody who has 200,000.
Hey, wait, I might be an influencer then. That's great. This is the best day of my life.
But I think my point with that is that, if you've got a 90-minute or a 60 to 90-minute show, that by the time you get to the end of it, that the people who are watching it are invested. Yeah. They're dedicated, and they might be called to action more easily. But I guess if this is popping up as kind of a replacement for people who are interested in Japan and would like to come to Japan but can't right now, what do you do to make virtual tourism a competitive option against like the Netflix samurai documentary or the Tom Cruise samurai documentary?
Well, I don't think you can. I don't think it will compete with that. It is just different. But myself, I think one of the last overseas travels that I made was like Sri Lanka, and I turned to YouTube, because the guidebooks, I could get a certain amount of information out of that, and I always used guidebooks. But seeing being able to glean through the video and even amateur videos as well too. I think it's for that. I don't think it's a replacement for other kinds of entertainment. However, before I started doing it myself, this sort of like live stream walking through towns, at first I thought, I'm not going to watch that. I didn't think I would be interested in that. But now I have started looking at them and things like, going through Lisbon. I'm not even going, no plans to go to Lisbon, but I've seen some well-produced ones, and we put it on like, without sound over dinner. Or, while doing something else, just like how people are enjoying podcasts, right? They have it sort of in the background.
No, that's not true, Nick. Our listeners have dedicated listening time in the calendar. They're giving us their full and under... Hey, Brian! Hey, stop! Brian! Stop! Thank you. Okay, now we got their attention. But it's interesting because it kind of changes the idea of what a tourist is, right? This really does speak to a kind of a philosophical question of what is a tourist doing? Are they looking to understand a place? Are they looking to collect experiences? Is the end game just to say, yeah, I've gone, look at the shit I've brought back with me? And these kind of live streams, right, where you're having these very, very close relationships with the cities and also merchants and hotels who are looking to sell to tourists, it does create an interesting dividing line, doesn't it, between documentaries which are there, say produced by the bigger players who are there just to document or, create beautiful footage, and these smaller things where there's really close relationships often between local municipalities, tourism offices, cities, merchants. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing that there's money, right? And the money's got to come from somewhere. But does that change the nature of the content that you're producing? And I'm not just talking about your live streams, but also, your Fukuoka Now stuff as well.
Well, commercializing anything will change things pretty quickly. Right now, I say Kyushu Live, it isn't monetized at all really right now, and that's something that we're enjoying actually. The fact that we can do it whenever we want to. We even don't have a schedule. I said twice a week, but we don't know what day or what time. We do put an announcement up ahead, but we aren't doing it in a commercial way right now, and like I say, I'm enjoying that. I don't think we will do it that way. I think it goes back to how Bobby says we're just trying to get people to enjoy Fukuoka and Kyushu through our medium. in a broader sense. We're not really commercializing it. No.
And even if you do end up commercializing it, as Ali described, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I don't think having to incorporate those, I think that actually might be an area that can provide something that other forms of Japan-based entertainment or travel shows or travel documentaries can't provide, in the sense that it provides an opportunity for interaction with people on a local level. I made the joke at the top about how, you know, currently virtual tourism and its different iterations in Japan can be boiled down to Skyping with the tea farmer. But in talking to the people who participated in that tour from London, that was what they were looking for. That was what they wanted to do, was to have an opportunity to talk with local people or interact with local people. And they might not even be doing that much interacting with local people if they were here on the ground as a tourist. It might be that these online services offer a better opportunity to do that in a way.
Yeah, that's true. Often tourists do. The most they interact with locals is, you know, if the local is working as a cashier in a pharmacy or
checking into the hotel or serving them at a restaurant.
Maybe that is the future. Maybe the future of tourism is you kind of build relationships before you go. Now, I'm not ashamed to say, back in the day when I was a young and good-looking boy, I would use Tinder, right? But I'd pay for the feature where you can swipe before you go to a country. So when I was touring, I realized there's no point in matching and meeting someone like that week. If I was only in the country for 2 weeks, right? It all seemed very forced and very pressurized. So what I'd do is I'd like match with people a month before, make a couple of friends. Then when I'm there, like all the kind of the hard work's been done in that you filtered out people that aren't interested in you and you're not interested in them. And so you can kind of hit the ground running. And maybe there are parallels here too, that you can kind of curate your itinerary of Japan well before you go. And by the time you do eventually go to that tea farmer's farm and he's pouring you a cup of tea, you've already had a conversation with them. You've already read about them. You know, your experience on the ground is going to be
You've already exchanged dick pics.
Precisely. Precisely. So, Nick, I'm not suggesting that you might play a part in exchanging dick pics, but, you know, you've done enough pivots, we can never be sure. But what part do you think organizations like yours might play in creating these kind of long-form, really meaningful travel experiences in the future?
No, that's what we want to do, for sure. And I like the idea of being able to speak with people on the street and or with either merchants or service providers or, you know, so on and so forth. The thing about what we're doing, though, is that it's live. And if it's live, you know, just putting a camera or microphone in front of somebody all of a sudden is kind of difficult, right? Difficult, or has some difficult problems with it. So it's kind of tricky. What we're going to be doing is if we have a planned walk or course, is we will arrange in advance, say, hey, we're going to stop by this sake shop and we'll do a little tasting here. So yeah, we have a way to work around that. We do want to do that. But I agree that, yeah, getting people's local people involved in it will be a good thing, yeah.
I totally agree that there's a lot of potential here and that there are a lot of positive things that have already come out of this and could come out of this, but I think it would be a little bit disingenuous to pretend that this is ideal, to not acknowledge the fact that this is like a stopgap measure.
Yeah, we've avoided saying this has been born out of a complete crisis.
And we've seen it. We've seen it so many times in so many different forms. So we've joked on the show in the past about how, like, there was a full 3 months last year where every single business in Japan pivoted to introducing takeout options. Like literally every single business, they pivoted so hard they fell into the river.
Kikake, ne? That's the reason for the pivot.
And when borders open up again, how do you think inbound tourism to Japan will bounce back? How do you think it will move forward?
Well, I think it will bounce back real quick. I mean, as quickly as they can allow people into the country. People are, you know, dying to come back to Japan. But, you know, as much as our business is involved and supported by, you know, tourism dollars, I'm not really that into tourism myself. You know, I'm more worried about over-tourism.
You're more into the dollars.
And I'm more into dollars, yes, and not the tourism part. No, I'm more into the sustainable style of tourism, and so I'm hoping that when things reset, that there's going to be a rethink at different levels from local governments and and operators as well too. Again, it's going to be I think people are even more starved to earn money. So I don't know what's going to happen. It could be worse than how it was before. I hope not. But there is something on the horizon, something that I've become involved with called adventure tourism. And it's a style of tourism which is, I guess, popular with people in Western countries, Europe and in North America and Australia and so forth. And what it means is these are people who travel for longer periods of time, 2-3 week holidays. And they like to do something that, practice a hobby or some of these others, could be skiing or hiking or whatever it is, in a different country. And so they tend to spend quite a bit of money and a lot of time, and they go deeper into the country and lower impact and more benefit to the local areas.
Yeah, so I've heard about that as well. There's adventure tourism where you can stay for like 3 weeks to a couple of months. And then there's extreme adventure tourism, which is what Ollie's doing. It's where you stay in Malaysia for over a year.
I'm playing this game on elite level. Actually, but there's no bigger adventure than trying to enter Japan as a tourist now. Hey, thanks very much for listening to this episode 75 of Japan by River Cruise. If you enjoyed the show, then please subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it. We release a new show every Friday. And if you really enjoyed the show, God bless you, then go to japanbyrivercruise.com and enter your email address, where we will spam you once a month with an email with all the best bits from the show and some exclusive bonus content.
Thank you to our guest this week, Nick Zaz. Nick, we will get you back as soon as we can, and in the meantime, we'll look forward to the next episode of Kyushu Live.
Thanks, Bobby. Thanks, Ollie. Yeah, I'd love to do another show, and in the meantime, check out Kyushu Live and look for the Bobby Judo episode when he walked around Imajuku with me. And we do 2 episodes every week, and next time we'll be doing a live stream from Kagoshima very soon, so check it out.
We will. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.